Welcome to Heal Love Grow, where we discuss all things healing yourself, mind, body, and spirit. I am your host, Jonah Renee, and today I have with me Tyree. And Tyree was able to heal himself from stage 3 colon cancer by changing his diet to eating a raw foods diet. I'm so excited for him to share a story with us. Welcome, Tyree, and thank you so much for being here. If you can, just share with us, how did you find out that you had colon cancer? And then what prompted you to start to begin to eat this way?
Great question. I will say it's been a scary journey, and uh, when we found out, I began to, I would say before January, like in December-ish, in the winter season of, I began to feel like a dull pain in my stomach. Um, I would feel like discomfort in my stomach area, but I kind of overlooked it. I didn't really know what was going on. I just started maybe, with some gas here and there. And then the closer I got or deeper I got into December, the pain started to increase to where I had in my right side upper abdominal area, it was like a burning sensation. And I felt it. And I felt like it might have been an ulcer. And I was telling my family that I think I have an ulcer in my stomach. And so, and I had a lot of gas and stuff that went with it. So was taking different, like, things trying to handle it as far as like gas X. I was just looking up things that help with anti-gas, probiotics, just trying to do things that I thought might help the situation as far as an ulcer goes. And then ultimately, um, January came around and things started to get worse as far as my feeling in my stomach area. At the time, believe it or not, I was on a carnivore diet, and I was eating nothing but meat and eggs. It was crazy, but yeah, it was something I overseen, and I tried it because I've always been in the gym, and I've always just trying to figure out what's going to work best for my health. And I've seen a lot of people saying that, and I'm not saying that ultimately what got me here, but that's what I was doing at the time. And so I was on the carnivore diet. Then ultimately, I ate some cheeseburgers. Honestly, the day before, and my whole system like locked up, and that I can't really describe. It's like if an alarm ever went off in your body. It's like if your body has some type of alarm system, because I felt like bells and whistles. My stomach locked up, and from that point on, the pain was like very uncomfortable. I started having night sweats, and just so much bloating and gas, and just so much pain. It was just so uncomfortable. So eventually, my wife, she pretty much told me, "Hey, you know what? I think we should go to the ER." And so I ended up saying, "You know what?" Finally, I gave in. I said, "Let's go to the ER." So we went to the ER, and this is the very beginning of January. We go to the
This was
ER.
January of
They
this year.
do
What year was
this
that?
year. Great question. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
2025. This year. Yeah. So January of this year, we are, and so they started. I told them, my symptoms, whatever, and they kind of at first thought it may have been like a gallbladder situation, just where I was feeling the pain initially. They started doing some tests, and then it ended up doing like a P a PET scan, and they put the dye in me or whatever, and they scanned my whole body. And I remember the doctor like just looking kind of alarmed. He was just like, "There's a blockage, we don't know what it is yet." Like they didn't really give me a definitive. They were like, "We don't know what it is yet. It could be several things." And they were like, "But one answer." And I was like, "Well, what is like the percentage of that it might be?" And they were like, 50-50. That's what they gave me. And so they were like, "But the blockage is so great that we need you to go into emergency surgery like right away." And so they sent me to they called the surgeon. who looked at the test or the scans and agreed that I need emergency surgery. So they sent me to another hospital that was in the area to have the surgery with that surgical team. When I got there, I met with the surgical team or whatever, but I had a lot of questions because I felt like, why did they want me to go into this emergency? Because I was standing straight. It wasn't like an emergency. I felt there should have been more tests maybe done, maybe a colonoscopy or something like that. And I just felt weird about them trying to just send me straight to this surgery. And so they explained to me that we're going to have to cut out a chunk of my intestines. And with doing so, they're going to send it out for testing. And so I was like, I was kind of, I was with it, but I wasn't. It was something about it that seemed off. And so
Yeah.
the team, they basically were asking me all the questions, and the surgeon ultimately ended up coming down after I was just like, hey, you know what? Why wouldn't we do other testing? Why wouldn't we make sure first? It seems like we're kind of guessing with this, and this is a major surgery. You're wanting to cut out like a large piece of my intestines, but you're saying you don't know what it could be or if it's there or what's going on. So anyway, so the surgeon ended up coming down, and he told me, he said, hey, Tyree, listen, you're right. You're After looking at your vitals and the questions you answered, you're not in a dire need of an emergency surgery. You're not in a situation to where we need to take your intestines out. He said, honestly, I'll be honest with you. If we took your intestines out right now, it wouldn't solve the issue. It would just
Mm.
allow us to see what the test the issue and see what's going on. And they were like, so what we're going to do, we're going to set you up for a colonoscopy. Now, I told my wife, I was like, man, that was weird. I was like, so they're playing, like, I don't, whatever you want to call it, practicing on me, playing with me. But I'm like,
Yeah.
if the only reason we didn't go through with the surgery is because I kept halting it. And I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Something, you gotta tell me something that makes more sense. So
Yeah.
ultimately they're like, look, you know what, you're right. So from that point on, I was kind of nervous and I was like, you know what? I don't know. I don't really trust this right now or this
Mhm.
team. And mind you, just to give you a backstory, the father of mine, he passed away from, well, he had pancreatic cancer, but he didn't pass away from that. He ended up going through treatment, chemotherapy, radiation, you name it, but he beat the cancer. Ultimately, he ended up having a lot of major issues after that. His skin ended up burning a lot. They had to cut off 2 toes. He ended up starting having seizures. Ultimately, he passed away due to heart failure, organ failure, cancer free, but the treatment is what ultimately killed him because his organs began to fail. And I
Yeah, I'm
remember
glad you
watching
brought
that
that
and I
up.
was like, man,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's a reasoning behind of my thought process of questioning things, is because I was like, I never really want to get in that scenario if that was ever my scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Good
it
thing you
had
stood up for
early
yourself.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. And God put that on your heart to
Yes,
do that, to
yes.
say, like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. Something is something is not right with this situation. But imagine how many people don't stand up for themselves and just go along with the surgery. Yeah. So it's a blessing that you did.
I, I agree 1,000%. So, what I notice is with the system, they pretty much, they control you with fear. And so they start making these faces and they start getting when you would think they're experts, they should be calming you, but
Yeah.
they're trying to fill you with fear. And I felt that even with the surgery, like they were filling me up with this fear. But me, I was just like, hold on, because
Yeah.
I seen my granddad ultimately handle this. So I'll go through this. And so, back to where I was now, getting back to the story. So, the backstory of where my thought process is. And so I left that surgeon talk with the surgical team, and my wife and we went home. And at this point, mind you, I don't know if it's cancer 100%. They just said it could be. They went to do some tests. but I still felt this discomfort. Now, at this point, I'm not having trust in the system, so I did not go to my colonoscopy,
Mm.
right? So what I ended up doing, I ended up I ended up going more of a vegan style, but it wasn't all the way raw, and it wasn't all the way nutritious. There was some like processed vegan, and it was like me tiptoeing my way into the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, what ended up happening is my situation, it didn't progress to a better situation. So I started feeling better a lot. It's just my issue was I couldn't really, when I ate big meals of the processed vegan food, it had a negative effect on my body. And it made me cramp up, and it just made things tough. And it was hard for me to eat anything. Ultimately, what ended up happening, I was malnutrition because of what I was going through. And I ended up fainting and going back, and they took in the emergent. And when I ended up fainting, it was like early May, like this beginning of May at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I end up going to the emergency room. At that point, they do the scan and the test, and they're like, look, it's cancer, right? Stage 3, they do a like a colonoscopy, stage 3 colon cancer, whatever, and let me know exactly what it is. So, they were like, we can do a few things. We can, you know, surgically remove it. We can put you on chemotherapy, radiation, all that. So I took a leap of faith, and I was like, you know what? I want to try to do this on my own. If it starts, because mind you, when I did start doing the vegan style lifestyle, things started to feel better. I started to progress. However, I wasn't honed in. I wasn't locked in.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, I know it's cancer because they tell me. So I go
Mm-hmm.
home and I'm really depressed, and I'm laying on the couch like, because I'm the sole provider of my household, and I'm like, what is going to happen? Like, I pay all the bills, like, I got my wife, kids. I'm like, what just start thinking about life, like what's going to happen? What am I going to do? Should I go do this treatment? And so should I have the surgery? So what I ended up doing, I snapped out of it. I said, man, you can't just get depressed. You got to snap out of it. So I snapped out of it. I said, man, you got to start doing research, because before I got here, you know how the internet is. There's so many things going around, and I was seeing things about diet and lifestyle from other natural herbalists, from the great Dr. CB and many other people who are recognized and certified and things like that. But I started doing research like hours and hours and hours, like going to bed, just watching other people's story who beat cancer, and just looking up all the research and buying books and following these herbalists. And it seemed like everyone's story that who beat the cancer, it always led back to their diet. It always
Mm-hmm.
led back to their lifestyle. And then with these herbalists and natural healers, a lot of them incorporated herbs.
Mm-hmm.
So I continued doing hours and hours and hours of research, and that led me to quickly going to a raw, 100% raw, plant-based diet. From not vegan anymore, because vegan could be processed things.
Yeah.
This is a straight natural plant-based diet, raw, right? And so I went into that right away in May after I found out. And then when I went to my oncologist appointment, and he was just trying to set me up with this chemo, and it was an aggressive style chemo, and I denied it. They instantly put the fear in me. But the thing that stood out to me, even with that meeting, they didn't ask me what I did to get here. How can I help? It was just all about the chemo. It
Yeah.
wasn't. So, do you drink? Do you smoke? What type of food do you eat? What is your lifestyle? This is what
Yeah.
we don't want you to do no more. It was just strictly, hey, look, we're gonna do a genetic test, chemo. I'm like, man, something's like this is all they want. You know, they
Hmm.
just want to cut me or they want to get put these gases in. And again, I'm traumatized by what I've seen before with my father. And so I denied it, and they again, they was like, no, we don't want, please no, like, and I was like, man, if it comes down to it, I'll be back. We'll do it. I'll check in with you in a few months. We'll run some tests, type of deal, and we'll go from there. So I'm on the raw. I started the raw, um, pretty much eating fruits and vegetables. I put a lot of my focus into fruits 3 times a day. I would eat fruits 2 times a day. I would eat vegetables, but I had to work my way up to that because at first, I don't know, it's like my body, of course, my stomach at first wasn't allowing it. I couldn't do a lot.
Hmm.
And so I started with maybe like, to be honest, it was straight fruits at first. I didn't even
Yeah.
do fruits and vegetables. It was just straight fruit. That's all I did at first. I did straight fruits for, I would say, a good 3 weeks to maybe a month
Yeah.
of
Fruits are a
straight
lot easier to
fruits. And it
digest.
was a lot of exactly. So it was a lot digested. And I went on I started with a fasting before I did any of the fruit eating. I did like a 3-day water fast, and then I started juicing the fruit. And I was dealing with the stomach issues. But over fasting, I started to feel like positive change like quickly. And then I started eating small amounts of fruits. And then from there, I built my way up. But I noticed that there was progress. I started feeling better in my stomach area to where I can eat more. And then from there, I went from fruits 2 times a day within like first month to going into my second month. I was then starting to be able to implement vegetables, raw vegetables, salads, and things like that, to where my stomach wasn't really giving me as much as issues. I was still discomforted, still had a little bit of pain, but it wasn't giving me as much issues. Now, during this time, I started to get into the herbs and research herbs, a lot of herbs, a lot of natural herbs. And I started taking a lot of herbal teas. Like what I ended up doing, I ended up I ended up buying like I started off with just like maybe 5 herbs, but then I don't know. Every time I would research another herb, I would just buy it and buy it and buy it and buy it. And the parasite cleanse, like with the wormwood and the Pau Diaco and the cassia bark and the fresh cloves and the green black walnut. So I did that whole thing, the whole parasite cleanse routine with all the herbs that I was taking, and that's when I started to feel a big difference. Like with the food that I was eating, it started to really make things go to normalcy. Now it got worse. I'll be honest, it got kind of worse before it got better, just because my body was detoxing,
Yeah.
and the detox was strong because of all the toxins I had in my body with the cancer and everything going on. So the detox was like, and what got me through it was just a lot of research, because a lot of times I was like, oh my God, am I getting worse? But really, it was just like the detox, me pushing out the mucus and the acids and things like that. And so um, by the third month, I'm eating 3 meals of fruits a day and 2 big portions of vegetables a day. And I'm taking like, I won't lie, maybe 15 to 20 herbs in a day. But I am doing like 3 weeks on, 1 week off. I'm letting my body take some breaks in between.
Hmm.
Um, and by the third month, I stopped really feeling pain in my abdomen, you know what I mean,
Hmm.
abdominal.
Yeah.
And so the discomfort started to heavily reduce to where it was almost little or none. To where if it was, it felt like it was more of a detox than more so like a blockage or a tumor. And then I started to get a lot more energy. I started to go back to the gym. I started to implement a lot of the things along the way that I learned, like grounding and diaphragmatic breathing, getting a lot of sun every day. I started to put me first because before I was working a lot and I would put the job first, but I started putting me first. I just knew that I had to spend a lot of time in the sun. Spent 40 hours, 40 minutes a day, 2 times a day. A lot of diaphragmatic breathing, a lot of rebounding, a lot of sauna detoxing, um, and it all came together. About time I met with the oncologist again, by this time it was August,
Hmm.
and they did another testing of my CEA scores, and pretty much the cancer was non-existent. Then we
Wow.
did a PET scan. Yeah, we did a PET scan, and pretty much there was the cancer was non-existent. I was NED at that point,
Wow.
and
That's
so he
amazing.
kind of, yeah. Yeah, so he was kind of, and so this point, I would say I was a little over close to like 4 months in,
Hmm.
4 months, maybe June, July, August. So yeah, so August, by the end of August, so 3 months in, yeah, going into September, I
Wow.
remember.
It didn't
Yeah,
take long at
yeah,
all for your cancer just to completely go away. Stage three. That's awesome.
yeah. No, it
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised. I was actually
Yeah.
surprised for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, I was blessed. I started getting more into religion, and before all of this I never was a religious person. I never really went to church. During my journey, that's one of the things I implemented as well. I just with doing all the research, because your thoughts can be everywhere, everything's scary, and depression is easy to get into, um and just not knowing, I just knew spirituality would be a great thing to get into.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I went did a lot of going to church and things like that. But yeah, so ultimately, where we're in October, and I still eat the same. I'm still raw. Three huge. Now I eat. No, don't get me wrong. I eat a lot now. I eat a lot because when I initially found out, I'm 6'2". When I was like scary skinny and bones. Like it was scary. Like my family was really scared for me. I was like 127 pounds. Right
Wow.
now I'm 100. Yeah, right now I'm 168 pounds. Now
Mm.
because I only eat raw fruits and vegetables, I'm still going to be thin. But
Yeah.
I'm gaining weight with.
But that's a huge
Yeah, I'm gaining
difference
weight.
just within a
I
few
eat.
months. I mean, even your weight gain, for you to be able to start to gain weight again, that's a significant difference. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
His story is
yeah, so
just
I'm very.
amazing. The fact that one, that you took your health into your own hands. You saw what was going on. A lot of people don't aren't able to see what's going on with the healthcare system, and you were able to see the fear base that they were putting into you, that they were projecting onto you, and you were just like, no, let me stop and do my research. And they put that on you to make sure that you go through with the surgery immediately. It's just, unfortunately, it's all about money for them. The more surgeries they can get you in, they can get you into the chemotherapy. That's a moneymaker for them. So unfortunately, that's what it's all about. And from what I'm hearing, doctors don't even really study nutrition. So to go back to what you were saying before, they never even asked you, how is your diet? What have you been eating? What led you to get to this, point? And let's change that. And let's, come back and see, changes or anything that, has happened as a result of changing that, but immediately they went to do surgery, which is insane. Yeah, but you would
Yeah,
think too that even after the surgery, they would want you to change your diet and to, change your lifestyle up, but
right.
that was never discussed, which is unfortunate. Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that you took your life, took your power into your own hands, took your health into your own hands, and you were able to reverse it. Yeah, that's a really good story, amazing story, very inspiring. Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah. So I just looked at it as like a lot of other people that I've seen beat their scary situation. They like to call it overdosing on nutrition. And that's just what I just wanted to do. And I juiced a lot of vegetables. I'm gonna add that in there. I juiced a lot of vegetables because again, I couldn't really eat much at first, or a lot at first. I was lacking in nutrition. That's what caused me to faint in the first place. So I knew I had to, you know, juice a lot. I would swish it around in my mouth, drink it real slow so I can absorb it because my stomach area, and I learned that through the research. Like I had to swish it around, like how you might put anything under your tongue and it absorb to your body. Or just sipping slow and just swishing, 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 it absorb through the mouth and the cheeks and under the tongue, and just swallowing and sipping slow, and then just eating a lot of fruits and but just so many different every like bean sprout, every sprout broccoli, a lot of broccoli sprouts, a lot of alfalfa sprouts. I mean, every sprout you can think of, I went to heavily on the broccoli. I mean, a lot of cruciferous vegetables, a lot of garlic, and a lot of salads. I mean, but now
yeah,
I'm continuous, and I try not to. I would say the hardest part of it was it wasn't even to switch to raw because I was so scared for my life that it was easy to. And I talk to a lot of people all the time, and they just say that they have these cravings, and the way I explain it to them is that your cravings for the food that you desire can't be stronger than the craving that you have for your life or to
yeah,
live.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
once craving to live is the strongest craving that you have, there's no other craving beyond that or tempt you. But my hardest part was social eating. That was my heart, and is continuously today, because you get with family members or you celebrating something, and everybody wants to go out to eat, or just needing to eat the fruits and vegetables. I have to take care because if I'm going to be out and about, I got to eat more than most people
mhm,
because I'm eating fruits and vegetables. So I'm literally, I did, I do a lot of intermittent fasting as well. That played a part as well. So I don't really start eating till like 1 or 2.
yeah,
And I made sure, especially in the beginning of my journey, I ate in a very small window because I wanted to go into autophagy every day. I ate in a 6 hour window every single day. So it would only be between like 1 or 2. Most of the time it's two to like 8. I
hmm,
would stop eating anything. And I would, but now my window is a little bit broader. It's like an 8 hour window. But
yeah,
I still have to eat. Once I start eating, I have to eat like every hour because that's the only way I can keep up with my nutrition. But I'm saying that to say if I go places, like if I'm going to visit a family member, just being out anywhere, I have to take an ice chest. Other than that, then there's an easy way to make excuses.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. You definitely have to stay prepared. How does your immediate family adjust to your new eating habits? Have they started to slowly get on board with the eating habits? Are they starting to see that, maybe a change is needed within their diet as well?
that's a great question. So with my diet particularly, I don't push it on anybody,
Yeah,
right? Um, Not even my immediate family, not even the people around me. Now, if someone is suffering from some type of chronic disease, I try to push it a little bit more as far as the benefits.
yeah,
But I feel like I wouldn't have never found this lifestyle or the way of eating. I feel like it found me because of what I
yeah.
went through.
Hmm.
immediate family, they eat better,
Oh,
but
good.
they didn't adopt my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, if they know that if they started to get sick or get into some type of chronic disease, what they would need to do, what it would take to,
Yes.
at that point, what we would need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they still eat the same way, but a lot more fiber, eating a lot more fruit because it's just filled in the refrigerator. There's a lot more
Hmm.
fruit and vegetables in the refrigerator just because of me and what I eat. Uh, and but my other family members, they didn't understand it as much because a lot of people don't. As far as like they feel like you just need the meat, and they're just like, where do you get your protein? And I think you should just some meat, or just eat white meat, or just eat fish, or they didn't understand it until they started seeing my health bounce back, and they
Yeah.
started seeing
Yeah.
me gaining my weight, and they started seeing me being more active than they are, because a lot of my family members are declining. They're getting, older and slower. But now me, and I feel the huge difference. Like my skin looks better. I'm beginning to look younger. I run around with the kids. And the difference is now I eat a huge portion of vegetables, and I can get stuffed, so to say, but I'm not going to get tired.
Yeah.
I'm going to get
Yeah.
full of energy.
Yeah.
And my
Exactly.
wife and my kids and all my, they see it all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I'm stuffed. But then now I can't sit still because I'm full of energy. I got all that electricity flowing through me through the vegetables.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
now I'm running around, you know, just last night we went to the pumpkin patch, and we had our young nephew out. I'm, 4 years old, and I'm running and sprinting with him, and
Keep
we're
up
running
with them.
around and up with before that would never be a
Oh
thing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 But people don't realize that food is supposed to be a source of energy. It's not supposed to slow you down. But the reason why it slows you down is because, you have all those different foods and your body's trying to take time to digest that food. And so your body spends a lot of time digesting food as opposed to, like you said, when you take moments to just fast instead of healing, because that gives that frees up your time and your space in order for your body to heal. But the more standard American diet type foods you put within your body, that's the more time that it takes for your body to actually digest food. So your body doesn't have as much time to heal. And like you were saying, you ate a lot of fruits, and fruits don't take as long to digest. So that's why you were able to, eat the fruits initially, because it was able to move through your body a lot quicker. But yeah, yeah, food is definitely supposed to be healing, but it's not that. Well, the foods that we eat, the standard American diet that we eat, that we call food, it's not actually food. So, yeah, I'm definitely glad that you brought that up as well. I did want to kind of go back to when you were saying that you found God in this whole process. You changed, you became more spiritual in the process. At what point did you start to just have that connection or start to connect more with God? Was it during the fasting time, or was it during the time that you were eating the fruits? When exactly or when do you recall that you started to just feel that connection?
So I would say very early on when I started switching, when I made the aggressive switch and I began fasting in the beginning, because I knew the road I was taking, it was going to take a lot of faith in me and a lot of faith in what I've researched, a lot of faith in what I was eating. And then I began to pray a lot. I began to just pray, like, please, like, give me the strength to, do what I need to do. Give me the wisdom to, figure out what I need to find out. Show me the way. I know there's a way. And then once I noticed that I was praying and asking for so much, that I was like, I need to do my part. I need
Mm.
to get more into spirituality, as far as getting into the Bible more, or just just helping people more and getting into the church environment to where I can get some uplift and positive word and direction. So I would say very, very early on, I would say like within the first month, I knew that that was going to be an important piece of my journey because um, I that about 90 to 95% of the people who try to switch to the lifestyle or the type of raw and herbal lifestyle that I went to, they end up failing.
Mm-hmm.
They not to say that they don't try it or that they don't do it, but a lot of times they back out for
Yeah.
a couple reasons. Just because of the social eating, it's hard to go around other people without the temptation, and people, and a lot of times you don't have the support because the people around you won't understand it.
Yeah.
So you get pulled back into the same lifestyle, or it's going to be the detox. Because I'm gonna tell you, like many people don't talk about the detoxing when they
Yeah.
talk about the beauties of going raw, which is a beautiful thing. But the detoxing is one of the most difficult things I've ever went through in my
I'm
entire
glad you
life.
brought that
Like
up. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, no one really talks about it
Mm-hmm.
because it's so uncomfortable when the acids, the mucus, the biofilms, the microorganisms, the parasites, they're all coming out of you because it's like your body is so smart to where when you eat the things that you're supposed to eat, I don't know if it's the connection of the fruits and vegetables feeding it that information or giving it what it actually finally needs, but a switch goes off. And then, boy, do things start happening in your body. It's not because it's sweet. Like your colon is going to squeeze out all the mucus, and if it's your bladder, it's going to continue to flush and flush and flush, and your kidneys is
Massive detox. But not, I mean, not only that, you went through it in such a short window as well. So I would imagine that it was, and you were taking all the herbs. So I would imagine that your detox was, a lot more
thousand
difficult than
percent,
others, yeah, may go through as well.
1,000% because other people what they typically do. You're right because I went all in because I knew I had
Hmm.
to at that point. It was either go in or don't do it at all. But I did a lot of herbs. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot of herbs. So you're right. That was doing its work, but I did it in a short window. When most people they take baby steps.
Yeah.
They kind of work. They transition their way in, and a lot of the natural healers would tell you to do it that way because
Hmm.
if not, your body will have a huge detox. It'll be uncomfortable. It'll almost make you go crazy in a sense how difficult it'll be to get through, and it'll make you want to quit. But if you slowly transition, it'll make it to where it's very tolerable and easy to handle, easy to manage, and it makes it that much easier. But I
Yeah.
just felt like where I was at, I had no choice to play around.
Yeah. 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 Well, I applaud you so much for taking your health into your own hands, for being able to reverse stage 3 colon cancer in just a matter of months. That's amazing. And I'm sure the doctors look at you like, how on earth were you able to do this? I'm sure they're in complete shock because it's unheard of a lot of times within the medical community as well. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. Your story is truly inspiration.
No,
I'm sure it's going to be such a help to so many who are struggling with this. Yeah, who just don't know what to do, and who are looking for other options other than going through the surgery, the chemotherapy. Because from what I've heard, it just like you said, you've seen it with, within your own family members that it's just made it worse. It doesn't help, it makes it worse. Yeah. Yeah. What advice do you have for anyone who may be looking to make this change within their lifestyle of eating this way, who may be going through a similar struggle as you? What advice do you have?
I would say take baby steps. I would say don't change your world overnight. What I did was incredibly difficult. Now, if you're dealing with, something that is putting you in a position to where you might need to make a major change, then you might need to make a major change. However, for most people, the advice, and I give, don't change your world overnight. Like if you take too much off your plate or change too much at once, it's going to put you in a position to fail. It's going to be a greater um, opportunity or percentage for you to be failing in that situation. So I would say, like, if you're going to go into like diet or to a raw lifestyle, you don't even have to say, you know what, I'm gonna kick all the meat first. First, try kicking the bread. You say, you know what, I'm not gonna eat any more bread or rice or noodles. No more junk food. And then do that for a while. And once you're successful with that, then try to say, you know what, now that I'm that, let me try taking away, some meats. I'm gonna just do fish and turkey. Now, one of the things that I will say is that, well, I lost my train of thought, but one of the things I would say is that over the course of taking those baby steps, eventually you will find yourself to where if you keep pushing forward, to where you eventually be where you want to be as far as the raw diet is concerned.
Yeah,
And so
that's
that's the
awesome. Yeah,
biggest,
very, very, very good advice. I think some people try to jump full in, try to go cold turkey with it, and that never helps. That never helps. And for me, I just started really. I was high raw vegan for a while, and so within the past month or so, I've just been raw vegan. But it did take a while for me to get to that point. It took years, honestly. At first, I started off as vegan, then it's high raw, and so. Now, I'm on a journey of raw vegan, so it definitely does take time. Like you said, you don't have to jump full in, just depending on where you are and what your health diagnosis is. Yeah, you can definitely take your time and just slowly ease your way into it. And eventually you find that, the foods that you found previously to be comforting, that you just really enjoyed, or you thought that you just had to have, your body doesn't tolerate them anymore because your body doesn't see it as being food. Your body knows that's not food. That's not, nutritious for me. Yeah, so you definitely feel a difference when if you do have a relapse in eating anything, you definitely do feel it within your body. Yeah. Yeah. So at this
definitely.
point, have you found your calling maybe to reach out and help others who may be suffering from similar conditions as you? Or you just, maybe you
Yes.
speak about it more often?
Yes, that's a great question. So when you're dealing with, something scary like what I was dealing with, you don't really want to share it with too many people. Me
Yeah.
personally, and I feel like a lot of people are that way.
Yeah.
You feel like you want to keep that to yourself, and you don't really share it with the world. After I found out that I was cancer free, even then I didn't really want to share much with the world.
Hmm.
However, with me being so spiritual and getting into more of spirituality, I felt like it was wrong for me not to share what I went through. And because if it can just help one person, then it's worth it. And so what I ended up doing, I make a video and just saying like how we did we're doing. I just shared my story, and then thousands of people watched the story. Thousands of people reached out to me.
Wow, that's
And
awesome.
so at that rate, I was like, you know what? I was like, this is my calling. Like, you know, cancer wasn't the end, it was the beginning of me.
Mm,
I had to learn about myself because now my nutrition and my health is better than it's ever been. Now
yeah.
my knowledge on herbs are higher than most, been. So I said, you know what? I just want to help people. And so I do have plenty of people who reach out to me all the time who are dealing with chronic diseases, including what I went through and other diseases, because just with me dealing with so much that I went through, I had to study other things because other things were compromising my body because of where I was. My liver was not at its best. My kidneys were declining, and so I had to learn how to rebuild all that cleanse the body and all that. And I learned a lot about disease just in general. And so, yeah, to answer your question, I feel like it's my calling to help as many people as I can help. And, I pretty much, many people reach out to me for my herbal blends that I use on myself daily and that I use during my entire fight. And so I'm able to help hundreds and hundreds of people to cleanse themselves, to fight their fight. And I'm there for them, along the way. They have questions, because just like the detox, just having like a detox buddy, because if you don't really like, I didn't have nobody, so it can get kind of like concerning. You're like, I don't know, am I supposed to be feeling this? Am I supposed to be going? But if you have like a detox buddy with what I call it, it's where you can reach out like, hey man, around this time, what did you feel this? Yeah, man, you're fine. You're good.
Yeah.
That's normal. You're supposed to be feeling that. You're supposed to be experiencing that. But yeah, no. So definitely my calling, and I'm happy that I'm able to help so many people.
Awesome. I love your story and I love that you're giving back and you're helping. You're not just taking that and moving on with life. You're seeing that this is your calling. This is why God put me in this situation to go through it, to overcome it, and then to reach back and help others as well. So where can others reach you if they're struggling with colon cancer or any other type of ailment, where can they reach you? On social media?
Um, so, social media for the most part. Um, I'm big on Facebook.
Mhm.
You can reach out. My handle is T Real Turner. My name is Tyree, but my handle is T Real, just to make it easy, because my first initial, and I'm going to be honest. I'm gonna keep everything real about my entire situation and how I help people, and then my last name Turner. So it's real easy to find T Real Turner. It won't have like my face on it. It'll have like um, a logo of T Real in, uh, in the background or whatever. It'll have me and my family on the background of my page or whatever. But I'm real easy to get in touch with. Add me on Facebook, shoot me a message, um, and I have plenty of content to where I'm sharing all that I've learned about fruits, because every time I ate any fruit, I would research it. From my daily, whatever I did daily or whatever I do daily, I share that. Pretty much my daily routine, I share it from beginning to end. What my meals look like on the daily, I share all of that. So you can stay in tune if you're fighting any type of chronic disease, and you can reach out to me very easily, and I'll be more than happy to help you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Tyree, for coming and sharing your story. You are truly inspiring. You're an inspiration to many, and I know that you're going to be a blessing to so many people. Yes, yes. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Yes,
you.
yes, yes, for sure.